Jacks were no good for us. We're moving up a notch and try our luck with pocket queens in the big blind. It's been over an hour since the jiggity's hand. I'm stuck a little and added on for 300. The button raises to 30. He's a friend of mine named Aaron who's been in a few different vlogs. We even took a trip to Houston together several years ago that I documented and shared on the channel. Aaron's the best player at the table, but our hand is too good to call with. I 3-bet to 130. This doesn't frighten the button. He's got something that he's willing to stick around with. He calls. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes King 9-8 rainbow. We've got second pair on a board that might have connected well with the opponent. I check with intentions of calling at least one bet. The opponent goes with a tiny sizing of 40. That's about exactly how much I was hoping he'd make it. I call to see the turn. The dealer puts out the king of clubs. It's actually a good card for us because it reduces the amount of combos containing a king that our opponent could have. I check, not wanting to face another bet. The button may be concerned that we've got him beat. He checks back. I doubt he'd do that with trips or a full house. We should have the best hand. The river's the 5 of hearts. Since this check through on the previous street, we've got the green light to go for value. I bet 200. Perhaps we can get called by pocket jacks or 10s or an ace-9 suited type of hand. The button is having a hard time making a decision with whatever he's got. I'm hoping he calls because there's very little chance that he'll have the winner if he's taking this long to decide what to do. About 40 seconds after we made our bet, the opponent folds. I mentioned earlier he's a friend of mine. I show him that we had a real hand as we take in the pot. Aaron tells me that he had queen-8 of diamonds and flopped bottom pair. Next we've got pocket sixes in the big blind. The button raises to 30. This is a fun hand to play. I call for 20 more to see if we can hit a set. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes Jack 8-5 with 2 hearts. All we've got is third pair and a backdoor straight draw. I check. The opponent doesn't miss a beat. He snap bets 30. What we're supposed to do in this instance with sixes is call when we have a heart in our hand because we can occasionally hit a backdoor flush, and we fold when we don't have a heart. I'm not in the folding mood. I call one time to see if we can improve. The turn is the 5 of clubs, pairing the lowest card on the board. When the lowest card pairs, it opens up the door for us to lead with a handful of different combos. I bet 50. We at least have removal to 6-5 of spades. If we happen to have the best hand with our pair, we'll have a good chance of winning the pot now while denying equity. The button calls. I didn't want to see that. Maybe I've gotten too cute in this hand. It's time to shut down. The dealer puts out the 4 of clubs. Let's fire that machine right back up because now we have removal to 7-6 for the straight, and we can plausibly pretend a straight is what we've got. When we see opportunities to steal pots, we have to carpe those opportunities. Our straight is as real as Kim Kardashian's nose, but we're going to rep it. I bet 200 to put the opponent to the test. It's close to a pot-sized bet. There's no immediate fold from the button. If this play doesn't work out, I'll be annoyed at myself, knowing that I could have just gotten away on the flop. The button is taking his time contemplating a call, so he almost definitely has our sixes beat. Our story must be convincing enough because the button folds, we get the bluff through. If the dealers aren't going to give us cards to win by making real hands, we'll have to continue getting creative to take down some pots. We're stuck about 500 and we get switched to the main game and pick up ace-queen suited under the gun. It's a relief to see 2 suited Broadway cards after not being in any particularly good spots to make money since we took our seat 3 hours ago. I raised to 30 with optimism that we can turn things around. One thing I'm proud of myself for so far this session is not getting too frustrated and forcing much, which is a big problem that I used to have when I'd be card dead and it caused me to lose thousands and thousands of dollars over the years. The cutoff isn't going to make our lives any easier. He 3-bets to 120. He's a viewer from Houston, Texas named Matt Labatt who does some kind of chemical manufacturing. I'd like to manufacture a big hand and we've got the whole cards to do it with. I call for 90 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes ace-queen 4 with 2 hearts. We've got top 2 pair and what's already a fairly large pot. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. He should be betting almost his entire range whether he has anything or not. He downbets to 80. It's about 1/3 of the pot. I'm not worried about the heart draw very much since the ace of hearts is accounted for, removing a lot of the flush draw combinations the opponent would have 3-bet me with. There aren't many combinations of sets the opponent will have either. I call thinking that we could be up against ace-king, kings, or pocket jacks type of hand. The turn is the jack of clubs, improving one of the hands that we were concerned about. I check. What the opponent does with this decision will tell us a lot. I expect him to check all 1-pair hands and bet with 2-pair or better. The cutoff checks back, indicating that he's afraid of something, and he's right to be. We've got a monster. The river is the 8 of diamonds. It's a brick. The cutoff either doesn't have much, or he checked turn for pot control with top pair. Either way, he's beat, and we're going to punish him. I go with an overbet of 450 to get calls out of ace-king, or maybe even a crying call out of pocket kings if he thinks we're bluffing. It could look like a call to small flop bet with a hand like pocket tens containing a heart, or jack 10, and now I'm trying to buy the pot after seeing an opening and some passivity from the opponent on the turn. The cutoff doesn't like seeing the bet, and he's not sure what to do. He cuts out chips as if he's going to call, then he looks at his cards one last time as if to say goodbye before folding, but he goes back to those cutout chips and he makes the call. We show him our 2 pair. It's the winner. Matt Labatt doesn't have to show, but for the vlog, he's nice enough to reveal a couple of Cowboys on their backs to reenact Week 5 of the NFL. We got the light call to win a big pot that gets us all the way out of the hole that we were in. With this victory, our stack gets close to the 3,000 mark, but we're in for 2,800 total, so we're not up much. I'm just glad to get unstuck. Almost 5 hours into the session, we're dealt 7-6 of spades in the small blind. The cutoff raises to 30. We should mostly be folding, but I call to see a flop because I'm a little bored at the moment. Not necessarily a great reason to get in there. The big blind calls to close the action. I've switched seats to the other side of the table in order to talk with my friend Aaron. Let's see if this new spot is lucky. The flop comes 10-8-7 with 2 clubs and a heart. We've got bottom pair and a gutter that might not be good. We all check. The turn is the 6 of hearts, giving us bottom 2 pair. If we check, all worse hands than ours will check back, but some of those worse hands might be able to call a bet, like flush draws. I bet 30 for value just to keep in some not so great hands. If we get raised, we can fold. After careful deliberation, the big blind calls. She may or may not have us beat. It's possible that she has a 9 of some sort and just didn't feel like raising. The cutoff folds. It's down to heads up. The river is the 9 of spades, putting us straight on board and counterfeiting our 2 pair. There shouldn't be many jacks in the opponent's range unless she had a flush draw on the turn to go with it. Maybe she could have jack 10. If she had jack 9, she almost certainly would have raised on the turn after we bet small. I'm going to try to get her off of a chop. I bet 120 to induce a fold. We then hear something that you never want to hear when you're bluffing.
Oh boy, she's a pot to her.
Right, give a jack again. Yeah. The opponent chose King Jack of diamonds for the winner. She called the turn bet with a hand I wouldn't necessarily expect her to call with. She had the gutter with 2 overs, but occasionally she'll be drawing dead to a chop. Instead, she drills the card that she needed and gets the monkey to bluff into her when she has a second nuts. We're back down to about even on the session. Just a few hands later, we're dealt ace-king suited in the hijack. It's a beautiful looking hand. Under the gun raises to 30. My friend Aaron is in middle position. He tends to 3-bet a lot. He makes it 100. In general, I don't like cold calling 3-bets. We're not going to do it here. I 4-bet to 240. This gets most of the other players out of the way. Under the gun folds. The action is back on Aaron. He's got something with potential. He calls for 140 more. Ordinarily, I'd get credit for having a monster, but Aaron and I have over 11 years of history playing together. He knows that I know he 3-bets a lot, so I could easily be 4-betting him light. Can't say. The flop comes King Jack 9 rainbow. We've at least got top. This is an interesting situation in a 4-bet pot because our opponent could definitely have pocket jacks or pocket 9s. He checks. I'm supposed to be betting small with almost every hand I 4-bet with. I know Aaron is capable of making my life difficult with his aggression, whether he has hands or not, so I check back for pot control and to see what the opponent wants to do on the turn. The dealer puts out the jack of diamonds pairing the board and putting a flush draw out there. The opponent checks. I actually like the turn card because now there's only 1 combo of pocket jacks in the opponent's range rather than 3. In a 4-bet pot, there aren't any trip jack combos that he'll have either, other than maybe the 1 remaining combo of ace jack suited. I'm confident that we've got the best hand, but worse hands won't be able to call too large of a sizing. I bet 130. Maybe I can get calls out of queens or 10s that are drawing slim. After mulling it over, the opponent calls. It'd be great to see a non-diamond low card since the ace of diamonds isn't accounted for. The river is the 7 of diamonds. The backdoor flush draw gets there. It's somewhat worrisome, but if the opponent had diamonds, he might have led the turn as a semi-bluff. It's more likely to me that he has queens or 10s still. The opponent checks. I'm comfortable enough going for value. I bet 430. Aaron folds without even thinking about it for a second. We win a nice pot towards the end of our session. I show that we were betting for value and we were a 0 out of 10 on the out of line scale. Aaron tells me that he had ace queen. That's the last interesting hand of the night. It's time to rack up.